episode 3 and 4 of The Last Dance literally showed Dennis Rodman as an MVP. And whoever thought, Dennis wasn't that great, he was average, you're wrong. Because Dennis literally proves within these 2 episodes how great of a defensive rebounder and passer he was at that time and even after till now. This was such a crazy, couple episodes. Just to see, Dennis's journey, going to the Chicago Bulls. Troubled kid. His mum kicks him out when he's 18 years old. He's sleeping in backyards. He's not doing anything. He goes one day, picks up a basketball, starts playing basketball, is pretty good at it. This guy at the college picks him up, tells him, hey, Dennis, come with us. He's like, yeah, why not? Gets drafted to the bad boy Pistons. He wins 2 championships over there. Goes really, crazy, not normal. Then he goes, with Madonna, starts dating her, gets these piercings, gets these tattoos, becomes as they call him, the Worm. Literally goes to the Spurs, unhappy, comes to the Bulls, which is a very big gamble at the time, I'll say later on. It was a very big gamble for them to get him. However, with the help of Phil Jackson, MJ and Scottie Pippen to settle him down, they started winning championships with him. It was just great, You just see, the development of players, especially with how MJ handled himself when in tough situations, and especially Dennis Rodman, how he was at the Pistons and all that. It showed actually the Bulls couldn't beat the Pistons. Actually, nobody could. The Pistons, dethroned the Celtics. If you look at the Pistons, this day and age, the Pistons or the whole team would be banned. And also, you got to give a prop to Isaiah Thomas, the legend Isaiah Thomas, because Isaiah didn't even have a top 50 player in that Pistons team, and he led into championships. And a lot of people, they look at statistics and they're like, this guy's stats the highest, that's why he's the best. But if you literally, come down to it, and you see Isaiah play, and all the stuff that he did, and to win championships on his own, with all other guys, which are big guys, just bullying them, their opponents in the paint. It's pretty crazy to see. And it's crazy to see, how the Pistons, all they wanted to do is just knock down MJ, knock down Pippen, don't let him go up. And just so they can show that that they're hurt. And it's also pretty cool to see, the first 2 times they faced each other in the playoffs, MJ lost both those matches, and he goes, he was absolutely angry, but he still stood there, shook their hands. He even had an interview, post-match interview of of his loss, saying, the other team did well, they were better that night, and that's it. And then you see the 3rd time around, when the Bulls beat the Pistons, all stemming off when Dennis pushes, Scottie onto the floor, and, Scottie's all bruised, banged up, and he shows no hurt, picks himself up, goes to the free throw line, and makes the free throws. And that's when the Bulls started getting momentum, and they win that 3rd time. And it's just crazy to see after that win, all the Piston players just left the arena. And you hear MJ, he's pretty angry. I don't think anymore he's angry though, but he's pretty angry when he was at that point, how for 2 years he shook their hands, and they couldn't even come back and shake their hands. and he still thought it was Isaiah's, plan to do that. And you can just see the tension between them, and they actually give Michael a recording, and it shows why Isaiah did that, just because that's how it was back then. And Jordan just goes, look, that's just bullshit. Whatever he's gonna say, he had time to think about it. Or everything that he says, it's not true, and you can just see there's like that little bit of tension between them. But going on with Dennis coming to the Bulls, Phil Jackson had to have Phil Jackson as a coach then to settle down Dennis, because of all Dennis's wild things going in his life, especially when we hear the story of Dennis's 48-hour vacation to Las Vegas. And you actually, you hear Jordan say, he's like, you can let him go on the trip for 48 hours, but he ain't coming back. And then Phil Jackson goes, are you sure? And Jordan goes, you can have my permission, but he ain't coming back. And you can see, after 48 hours, Dennis wasn't even back. And Michael goes and grabs him at his apartment and tells him to come in. It's pretty cool to see. And it was just that respect. And then Michael actually tells like a little story. He goes, after he comes back, he goes, they're all punished because they wanted Dennis to get his fitness up. And they Michael said to all the boys, Steve Kerr and everyone, they were running these laps, and the laps actually start like with the first person, whoever's in front of that group, they lead until everyone else goes in front of them, and it just continues like that. And he goes, everyone's lightly jogging. Michael does it, Kerr does it, Pippen does it, and they go, Rodman does it, and he just sprints to the front, and he keeps running hard. And he's saying this guy made us, run 4 laps until we had to catch up to him. But then he goes, you know what? That's just Dennis though, and they all understood Dennis. And I feel like if Dennis didn't have players like Pippen, Jordan, and a coach like Phil Jackson to understand him, I feel like his career wouldn't be that magnified and great as we all remember. And we also see the Smith brothers, with these 6 guys in suits. They were employed by Michael Jordan to be in the back room with them, and everyone's just taking the just the piss out of him, saying look at him, holding Jordan's jockstrap, and all that, which is pretty funny to see as well. And they literally need to make a documentary separately just for the Smith brothers. We also see like Jordan's previous coach Doug, and him going to Phil Jackson, how he loved to play under Doug, because Doug, his game plan was get the ball to Jordan and Jordan scores. No other game plan. And they literally try to make him implement the triangle, and Doug did not want to implement that. He was saying he doesn't need that and all that. And in one way, it's pretty cool because you see Jordan averaging like 36 points a game. However, he's not learning how to play. That when Phil Jackson comes, you can literally see him, no matter how great MJ was at the time, he still needed a team to win championships, not just one player. And that goes with everyone as well, because every team out there, there's never an individual player. Even when it comes to this age with LeBron, comes to all these guys, you can just still see you need a team. And we saw some flashbacks of like Jordan playing against the Lakers, and how they beat the Showtime Lakers, and how Magic was he wasn't even sad because he knew at the end, he goes, Jordan's the new guy coming in. He deserves it, which was pretty cool to see. And at the start of that 97-98 season, we see how actually it starts off and Pippen's not there, and Jordan actually relies on Dennis. And Dennis, he even says himself he doesn't really care about the game. He just he just plays and he goes parties, and that was his life. And first couple of games they were struggling, and Jordan, he's telling Pippen, he's telling Rodman, he's like, come on, pick up your game, this, that. And after a loss, it all finishes, Rodman's upset and all that. And later that night, Jordan in his hotel room, he gets a knock on the door, and it's Rodman. And Rodman goes, "You got a big extra cigar for me?" And that was it. And Michael even says, he's like, for me, Rodman coming to my room, he doesn't need to apologize to me. He doesn't need to say, anything. He goes, him just coming to my room shows me that he's willing and caring for this team to win. And after that, you see Rodman going hard at the gym, they're training hard and all that. However, Pippen does make a return later on that season. And now Pippen goes, it looks like I'm the third wheel. And he goes, and he did not like that, and he lost motivation again. And hence why he did that 48-hour trip, which is absolutely hilarious. Because imagine, a player now doing a 48-hour trip, vacation, as he called it. Imagine now with all the press, especially back then, the press went everywhere with them, but they weren't that controlling. But now imagine the press, the social media, imagine everyone talking about that would be huge. But back then, you can see not a lot of people, took that to heart. And after Rodman came back, and that's when, Phil Jackson, sat everyone down and explained, they're getting back to business and they're going to play hard. But yeah, with this one, it was different to the first two episodes. Because the first two, it was more about, Jordan's, rookie coming up to the, the pedestal, with also Pippen. But this one took a lighter feel, these two episodes, because it had Rodman in. And it was more about charisma. It was more how, Phil Jackson just showing how great of a coach he is, because coaches do not get enough, credit, because everyone thinks, they just write plays and all that. But you literally see Phil Jackson, he loved Native Americans, so he would always try to do something to get your mindset to focus more in. And it's pretty cool to see the lengths that would go on. And that's why he was the only man that could actually get Rodman in, because Rodman's probably one of the biggest risks they were willing to take, and they got him, and it actually worked out, which is pretty cool. But you see, like I was alluding to before, the triangle, how they were using that, and how MJ, how he actually had to say, this, it's, I put the team before me. And to get someone that's the franchise of NBA, someone who's literally the poster boy to say that, it's pretty cool. Because it showed his dedication just to win matches and just to win titles and all that, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so that was about it. It was literally, Dennis's journey, showing Michael Jordan, working with like all different types of components. With a lot of takeaways to this though. There was heaps of takeaways to this few episodes, and it was really enjoyable if you compare it to the first two, because you see a different side of the Bulls. You see a different side of Rodman. You see a different side of Jordan, Pippen, because everyone's believed back then Pippen's a bad boy. He's not good. He doesn't deserve to play. Just all that type of stuff. And now when you actually listen to these episodes and see what's happening and all that, you start to understand. How it was back then, what they were doing, and all that. And I can't wait for the next few episodes to come out, because it's gonna show, more of a journey, more inside of that 97-98 last season, which is pretty cool. Seeing, the plays of Phil Jackson, how he gets his team, to cope with one another, which is pretty cool. Anyways, I've been ASVP. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for next time.